Hello everybody, Glass Half Dead here, and today I want to talk about something that I am terming casually competitive, and why that's a problem. Now this might already have an official term that I'm unaware of. If you know it, please tell me. I'm sure that this is a thing within game design and game theory in general, but this video is going to be me. First, I'm going to define what I actually mean when I say casually competitive. Then I'm going to say why that is a bad thing, not just for Kill Team, but also for 40k. And then also how to fix it. The reason I'm doing this now is, of course, because of Pariah Nexus, the big new Marines release we're getting, and the Necron release to a lesser degree. I have given some of these thoughts in other videos, but they've been very piecemeal. And I thought I'd do something now that the Marine release for Kill Team is hit and it's actually genuinely affecting me in Kill Team as opposed to me in 40k. Now before we get started, I think the real thing that we all need to remember here is, first of all, I really like Warhammer and Kill Team and I like all that stuff. This is in no way me slagging off GW. But more importantly than that even, is that if you are a subscriber to my channel, I would like to give you a big double hello. Now, what is a double hello? Nobody's quite sure, but it does apparently give dividends, we've recently discovered. If you want to get your dividend-enabled double hello in the next video, all you have to do is subscribe, like, leave a comment, all of that algorithm engagement stuff, which will help my channel not Hindenburg, if you want to term it that way. In this particular case, when I'm saying that something is casually competitive, what I'm saying is that that particular faction defines a meta for whatever reason, doesn't matter what the reason is, but defines the meta, and every other faction has to have an answer for that faction. Now that's not inherently bad, however the bad part comes in the fact that it is casually competitive, because of course what I just said just means competitive. But if something is casually competitive, that means that you don't need to be good to still win with a meta-defining army. A little bit of history. Marines have never been flat out bad in Kill Team. They haven't been good, they haven't been top tier. However, a top tier player could take Marines and win a tournament with them. And that's good. That should be what you can say about every army. That is, sorry Kroot, you know, that's good. However, when it comes to Marines, a top tier player, you know, that same player would probably do better and have an easier time at tournaments playing a different army. So Marines were capable, they were very solidly mid-tier, but they weren't strong. And the majority of casual players that wanted to play Marines would sit lower in the brackets, mid-tier, they wouldn't really break into top 8s, that wasn't what Marines did. However, now we have 9th edition rules in Kill Team, and it seems we've practically still got 8th edition points for them. It's bizarre. Okay, great, but what does this actually mean? This means that someone that is a casual player from before who would have taken their Marines and finished middle of the pack, bottom tier kind of thing, and they will now be with essentially the same list, no changes to their playstyle, no changes to the list almost, and now access to some of the best units in Kill Team. They are going to be top tier players. They are going to be finishing top 8s without a problem, essentially. Now, that's not actually a bad thing. I don't mind that the poster boy faction for a game is good, okay? That's totally fine. The problem we have is that it is going to be so oppressive for anyone that doesn't play Marines. If you don't want to play, I don't like Marines. I don't play Marines. I have them. I don't really want to play them. That's fine. I'm a decent player. If somebody brings Marines against me, I will still have a chance. Fine. But if somebody is casual, so that same person who was playing, you know, before Pariah Nexus, he was playing with his buddy played Marines and he played whatever, he played Imperial Guard. And they'd be fighting, and let's say they had roughly a 50-50 win rate. Well, now those two players are going to continue going head to head, and the Marine is going to be winning 90% of their games. So now we have the Imperial Guard player who is presumably going to fall into a pit of absolute despair and depression and stop playing the game, probably. We're going to see a post from him on Reddit where he says, hey, I can't beat the new Space Marines, what do I do? And everybody says, just refuse to play your friend. I guarantee you people are going to give that advice. So what Games Workshop has done here by heavily undercosting the new Space Marine units is to essentially make people stop playing the game. People cannot play Marines and still have their friends have fun. That is casually competitive. To quickly take a break from Kill Team, allow me to say how things are going in 40k. Perhaps you are a 40k player, perhaps you aren't. Let me give you a little bit of how I view someone that isn't. I'm not hugely into the actual meta of 40k. I read up about it, but I don't play the game. When Marines released, everybody said they were the dominating faction, and that's true. They are. They're really, really strong. A lot of people play them, but then they don't actually have the highest win rate in competitive games. Okay? And that seems good, right? So it seems like Marines and people, the hate towards them is a knee-jerk reaction. And they see the codex and they see how Marines should be on paper, but Marines aren't actually winning. So should we just give Marines a chance? No. No, we shouldn't, because Marines are the meta definers. The reason they're not dominating tournaments is because they are so strong that every single faction has to build specifically to beat Marines. As soon as you look at a 40k army list, the first thing you ask is, can that kill Marines? Doesn't matter what else it can kill. You have to be able to beat Marines. That's all your list has to do. Even if you never come up against Marines, your list still needs to have an answer. And because of the way 40k works, where there is no roster system, you are locked in really hard to having to beat Marines. Which means you can get some weird counterplay where there are no Marines in the tournament, so everybody's teched specifically to build Marines. So if one person has teched to ignore Marines and just hope they never come up against them in a tournament, they're probably going to win. When an army doesn't have dominance purely because everybody knows they're so strong, you have to build specifically to beat them and nothing else, that's not a healthy meta. Okay, back to Kill Team. The reason Marines are so strong, and I believe the proof of this, is that if I were to build myself a Marine roster, 20 models, I would not change my roster. I also wouldn't need the full 20 spaces. But I would not change that roster no matter which format I were playing in. Whether it's 100, 125, 200 commanders, hold, kill, hold one, hold more, kill one, kill more. I wouldn't need to change my roster because my units are so good and are so forgiving of any mistakes I would make. But I'm not an average player. I don't care about me. I don't care about GW balancing for the top 8 where, yes, some people will be able to still beat Marines. I care about the middle of the pack, that 20 to 80% of players where you cannot beat Space Marines. Maybe one of the players in your group plays Marines but is also a competitive player. Well done, you can never beat them. Straight up, you will never be able to beat them. That's not a fun game. So you then have to ask, what are you going to do? Are you going to stop them from playing Marines? That's not going to work. Are you going to give them a handicap? Well, they're not going to like that and they're going to stop playing. Okay, that's great, Glass, but how do we fix casually competitive? Unfortunately, we cannot. Yeah, that sucks, doesn't it? That's a pretty bad answer. We cannot. The only thing I could advise is that if you are genuinely being dominated by Marines in Kill Team, just add 3 points to every model. Now, just kind of a very quick aside from how to fix it ourselves, outside of GW and the issues they're having with trying to have a sustainable business that still actually can thrive, which I totally, understand they have issues with. And how can you release an entire edition's worth of rules, etc, etc. But if you just want your friends to still play against you, if you're doing a weird list where you specifically want to take a heavy intercessor, build out your list at 100 points and then just take one model away. Okay? So then you're playing 17 points down, essentially. I would say that's the way to do it. Or maybe replace that one heavy intercessor at the end with a regular scout. That's fine. That's still a really strong list. It's still going to cause a lot of problems for a lot of factions, but it's better than it would be with 5 intercessors as only 4. The alternative thing to do is build your list, don't modify your points, don't take away any units, but just limit yourself to a maximum of no more than 1 Blade Guard veteran, no more than 1 heavy intercessor. To be honest, If you only have one of each of these, you're going to be fine. That's not an unbeatable list. And anyone complaining that, oh, you've taken a single Blade Guard Veteran or a single Heavy Intercessor, I now cannot win, probably just needs to improve their game, because you are not cheesing the army too much. Marines have still had a huge power increase, even if you don't take the new units that are completely overpowered. What we need to happen from Games Workshop to fix casually competitive causing an issue, causing players to no longer play because they get dominated by the most numerous faction in the game, Space Marines, is we need to stop playing the game for about 1.5 years until Games Workshop releases every faction in 40k and then ports it over to Kill Team. Oh, I'm sorry, did you not like the truth? Okay. In reality, the way Games Workshop has chosen to release armies in 40k is the entire issue here. Playtesters for 40k have said that the 9th edition system is really good and it's very well balanced, and I have no reason not to believe them. The only problem there is that obviously you're going to get a lot of factions that don't get their new rules for 1.5 years, so they're just screwed. They're just flat out boned. And the big issue is that Games Workshop has done power creep. Normally, power creep in the past has been done per codex, so each codex gets incrementally stronger. It gives you this feeling of FOMO, you have to get the new army, the next codex, etc. They're still doing this very, very heavily in Age of Sigmar. However, this edition, they've done not just codex creep, but edition creep. So every single faction is getting better in the next codex, which means that until you get your 9th edition codex release, you are a bit screwed. Ultimately, this edition creep and the sheer fear that Marines inspire have actually stopped me from getting into 40k more. Like, it just sounds bad to get into 40k when I know that if I go up against a Marine army, I'm kind of dead. Anyway, in other news, I'm still kind of hopeful for Pariah Nexus giving us a day one FAQ that brings everything else into parity. I don't think they're going to give us an FAQ on Space Marine points. I don't think they're going to raise any of the points there. But you know what? Fingers crossed. I think we might actually get some further 40k rules given to us in Pariah Nexus. Because if we don't get that, then my next long video next week after Pariah Nexus drops is I'm going to have to talk about Space Marines, and it's not going to be good because I have to talk about how strong they are, not just in the hands of a casual player who can still be beaten by a top tier player, but I'm going to have to talk about the fact that a top tier player will not be beaten if they play Marines. The only thing that will beat them is more Marines, at which point you do end up with a pretty big issue. If only there was a way that you could rank players and give them a proper handicap system. So, you know, if you're in the top 20% of players and you play Marines, you start -4 victory points or something. You know, like, that would genuinely be the only way to play. But still, the gameplay would be oppressive as they just wipe you off the board and you can't kill them. It's a similar complaint that people had to Custodes when Custodes were first released in Elites, because you can't kill them. It's a very uninteractive game. Except the thing with Custodes is you didn't have enough models to win. Now, with Marines, you do. It's a bit crazy, actually. Anyway, everybody, this has been Glass Half Dead. What do you think about casual competitiveness? I'm genuinely interested. Everything I'm saying here is mainly hypothetical because it's COVID and I'm not having to play against my local Marine players, of which, to be fair, there are only like 2. Like in this huge scene in London that I play at, mainly at the Bad Moon Cafe, there's only like 2 people that play Marines. So it's, you know, it's not actually going to affect me that much. Although we do have quite a few kind of competitive players that will probably start playing Marines, because why wouldn't you? They're really, 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 really strong. But what about you guys? Are you playing against Space Marines? Are you now terrified? Or are you a Marine player and you are having to figure out how to convince your friends to still play against you? And if you've made it this far into the video, you know what that means. It means triple hello. Thank you very much. Making it to the end of the video genuinely helps any channel that you watch. A little bit of YouTube algorithm and how that all works right there. A full view of a video means more than most other things, but also a like and a comment and engagement in general. So thank you very much. It really helps my channel. And I would finally like to say that I hope you've had a good day and continue to have a good day. Stay safe out there, guys. Bye.